Coming up in today's episode.
She actually was from the same area. We knew some of the same people. And she said I told her about iBIBLE, and she said she was a Sunday school teacher. And I said, oh, that's great. I mean, I did that when I was young, and you know. And then she said, but when I get home from this trip, I'm going to resign.
Right.
And I said, why?
I remember one day you phoned me and you said you were standing at a goat stop in the middle of Africa somewhere.
Yeah, we were driving back from the bush in Kenya.
Yeah, it was around that time then, because we were thinking...
and there was a Sunday too.
Yeah, you get all this content, you make it available, but how do you make it available to someone in rural Africa?
Welcome to the iBIBLE Podcast with Steve Cleary, brought to you by RevelationMedia.
Hi, I'm Steve Cleary. Welcome to another episode of the iBIBLE Podcast. Today we're going to be talking about an exciting and sometimes challenging conversation for me, and it's concerning the iBIBLE app. We've certainly had our amazing successes with it, and we've had our challenges with it as well. So today's going to be a very open and honest conversation about where we've come and where we're going with the app. And my guest today is actually the architect, the programmer of the app, David McMenemy. Did I say that right?
Yeah, that's it. That's how you say it. Yeah, it's a bit of a mouthful.
Yeah, so I'm just going to tell you, we have like 5 Davids we work with. So we refer to you as like Mick David, iBIBLE David, but David McMenemy is the correct pronunciation.
That's it. Yeah, Mick David. It was funny when we arrived in Dallas. I saw there's a Mick David's, like a car showroom or something.
Yeah, McDavid.
I believe that's
David
where it comes
McDavid.
From. Yeah, so I was trying to take a picture of that.
Because we called you McDavid. So just because we had so many Davids, but thank you for joining us. So obviously you don't have a Maine accent like me or a Texas accent. So tell everybody where you're from.
Yeah, so I live in the north of Ireland, just outside Belfast. So it's a 10-hour flight away. So it's not too bad. We have been over for the week, so it's been great to be here. Great to meet the team in person after having worked remotely.
Yeah, it's your first time in the RevelationMedia office. So we have obviously met, but actually in different countries.
Yes.
But it's nice to have you here. I know it's a long trip. I'm glad your wife was able to join you. Yeah. And we've been working together, I think, just a little over a year now, right?
Yeah, I was looking it up earlier. I believe our the first versions of the app was from December 2022. Okay, so that's a good long time.
Yeah, 2 years, over 2 years, and I'm really thankful that you came along and shared some new ideas with us on how to program the app. The app for me is something I've always wanted to launch. It goes back many years and a lot of designing and programming. And the challenge is we originally tried to design an app, with I guess you call a native app. That it would be programmed just for the iPhone, programmed just for an Android device. Yep. And it became hugely untenable. And so you guys brought a different, I don't want to get into, I don't want to bore our listeners with all the technical details. Yeah. But you brought a different concept to us, which is referred to, if I'm describing it right, a progressive web app. Yeah. What is that?
Yeah, so the basic idea is if you want to launch an app, sometimes you end up having to build an iOS version, an Android version, a version for the web, which that's 3 different code bases, lots of time, lots of expense. So the PWA concept is basically build a website first, and then we're able to turn that into both an iOS and an Android app. So it makes it's really flexible. It's a single code base, and it makes scaling everything a whole lot easier.
So you're just making changes on a website instead of having to actually go in and make changes on the app.
Yeah, we actually had this conversation earlier on where someone was asking, like, when do I update my app? And I was saying, well, actually, because it's a website, we're able to go in, push the changes, and they show up immediately without people having to reinstall different versions of it.
Yeah, nice, because I know that. It can be annoying.
Yeah, that's
it happens all the time.
Yeah.
So I think, looking at it, let's talk about some of the, to me, the biggest success, and I'm going to put it up on the screen. I apologize for those who are just listening and you can't see it. But if you go to the iBIBLE app, first of all, I love the color, the navigation. You see the different programs we offer, and I think that's one of the challenges we're going to talk about is how much is actually on the app that people don't realize.
Yeah.
But the app does measure episode views, And of course, it measures it on the app and on YouTube and on our site. It doesn't measure it in many, many, many places we have. And, David, you wouldn't know the many places we have episodes airing. Yeah. So we have episodes being used in churches. We have episodes being used on TV in many different countries. So we're not even measuring that. We're just looking at, where we can count views. We're up to 27,460,017 episode views.
Wow, yeah, it's amazing.
So in or out of the app, our episodes have been viewed 27 million times.
Yeah, wow.
And I want to make it clear that doesn't mean it's 5 or 10 seconds. That means for us to register it on the app, I think they have to watch.
On the app, it's 60 seconds.
60 seconds. So we consider a view watching at least 60 seconds, what I would consider a minimal engagement with one of our episodes or engagement with the Bible. We've had 437,000 additional engagements.
Yeah.
Now, these are 100% on the app.
Yeah.
These are people that are using our Sunday school content, using our discussion questions, using, going to the prayer module, are using resources that are outside the actual episode views.
Yeah.
Which I'm excited about. I would like to see that in the millions, and I think we will down the road. Again, this is only what we can count. It does not include what we can't count. But we're going to be talking about it in a few minutes, all the resources that are on the web. And then, of course, most exciting is we've had 369,122 decisions for Christ.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And that counts on the app and on our website and on YouTube.
Yeah.
And so those numbers, for those of you who are watching, hopefully you can see it on your phone or on your computer. Those numbers are very exciting, but obviously, we care about everybody. It could just be a single changed life that we care about. But because our app is used in virtually every, what did you say? Every country, but
it's available in every country apart from China, and there is a number of the number of countries that people created accounts for. I can't remember what it is off the top of my head, but it is amazing. It's I think the first biggest country was the US. The second largest one was India, and I think the third largest one was somewhere. I can't remember where it was, but it's been incredible to see how global it is.
It's an extremely global app, which brings me to we're going to talk about. I said we're going to have an honest, open, and some of the things I did wrong with the app. So never like if you're going to be honest, you got to talk about the good and the bad, right?
Yep.
So when we launched the app, I wanted people to register. Yep. And the reason why we wanted them to register is so we could share more content with them. They could keep track of what they viewed, the resources they used. We even kind of gamified some stuff where they would win badges if they watched so many episodes. And it sounded, like a solid idea. Sounded like a really good idea. Challenge we have is we launched the app in 5 languages, and you figure approximately 200 countries, and then we had people that tell us that say, well, are you going to register with a phone number or an email address? And there were many people don't have an email address, and then people in the West are like, I don't want to put my phone number on there. So it was like, okay, so now you pick your language. You pick whether you want to log in with a phone number or an email, and then you register. And while it worked, in prototype, when we went out to the masses, it absolutely did not work. It absolutely was a nightmare.
I think there was customer support requests coming through where people would sign up with an email and then try to sign in with their phone, or or vice versa, and people forget their email and their phone number and all this kind of stuff. So it's it's a
and forget their password. Then they'd ask to reset their password on an email or a phone. So many apps, I would say the majority of even Christian apps that launch for the U.S., here in the U.S. And so you can register everybody with an email address because virtually everybody here has an email. And that wasn't true around the world. So in trying to meet the problem, we actually created too much complexity. I've done database programming before, and that would be called a many-to-many-to-many relationship, which is in itself untenable. It just was too complex. So we had people complaining. We tried to fix it. We tried to make it simpler. And then eventually we just said, take it out. So the app, remove it. I think we announced it. No, when did we take it out? About 3 months ago? 3 or 4 months ago?
Yeah, I think it was towards the end of last year.
So we so we took out the log on, so we don't know, so now anybody can go, they don't have to log in. And I kind of like it better. It's not how I originally envisioned the app, but we had to take out some of the badges and some of the games and some of the progression that people were doing. But I kind of like that anybody can go into the app and start using it immediately.
Yeah, we were working on some stuff earlier this morning with sharing episodes. So it's a whole lot easier now to take the real story of Jesus, for example. You can share straight into that. There's no barrier to entry for a new user.
Yeah, so it's going to make it more powerful to share.
Yeah,
and so it was that was a big thing we had to do. And I think I literally sat with people who had a hard time in my travels overseas, or even in the U.S. I watched them. And they would log in one way and then try to log in another way, and it wouldn't work because of the phone number.
Yeah, people would just kind of assume that it knew their mobile number.
It knew the mobile number, right?
If they had their email address.
And I'm sure everyone listening that you've had times where you tried to log into something and you forgot your password, or you forgot what you used for a username, and it's frustrating. It's extremely frustrating. And so what do? You give up. I mean, even today, and I'm impatient as anybody, if I'm calling somebody and it's not answered on 3 rings, I typically hang out. I'll send a text, I'll try later. And so we live in a society that's, doesn't want this complication. But even with all that, I think we estimated, so we've had 250 to 300,000 people use the app.
Yeah. Back whenever we had the user sign up, there was over 200,000 people. And then since we've removed that, we're able to see an additional 100,000 people.
So over 300,000 people.
Yeah.
And so that was the first hurdle. We had to kind of step back and say, yes, would be nice to have. Yeah. But I use the phrase in business is the main thing is to keep the main thing the main thing.
Yeah.
And so keeping the main thing is getting people to be able to use the app easily and to be able to watch the episodes.
Yeah.
So now we have, and then so our second hurdle, if we talk about the second hurdle we had, it was based on wanting to use AI to translate.
Oh yeah.
Now it was wanting to translate subtitles. So we had this concept that if we could have an AI program that would translate the subtitles, we weren't going to let it translate the voiceover and the script, but it would translate the menu, the resources, and the subtitles. I think there were 26 languages available to us that were, and we even went through proof of concept where we took translations, we sent it to people to review, and we had to score 90% or better, and for us to use that AI. So we incorporated into the program that to think about it. I mean, it's exciting to me to think about I can launch new content that automatically appears in 26 languages.
Yeah. Yeah, it would be amazing.
That would be amazing, right? So that was the idea, but it didn't work.
Yeah. The AI stuff's really frustrating because there's so much potential with it. But one of the big things that we learned, and I'm still sort of looking at this a little bit, but it's the AI doesn't really get the full context of where the words are gonna appear within the app. And some languages are more susceptible to this than others, but the way you phrase it, or sometimes the way you capitalize it, or like stylize the word, is dependent on the context. And that was a lot of the problem when we did those AI translations, that it didn't have enough. It wasn't contextually relevant enough. And then there's other things like if you talk about God, it was using. You could talk about the true God or a false God, and it wasn't using the proper words.
It wouldn't know because it didn't have the context. So to bring this down to, kind of to plain English is that when we tested the AI, it worked because we tested it with a block of text. Yeah. And the block of text included context. Yeah. But when we put it into the application, we have quizzes that have one question and single word answers. And there was no context for the AI to know how to translate that. So it translated it all over the board.
Yeah. It was just saying like 3 or 4 words. It didn't really know what that was related to.
So I think it was a learning experience for all of us. I wish we had been smart enough to think of that in the beginning. But with AI being so new, I think that's a challenge for many people. And we haven't discounted the value of AI. Mm-hmm. We're just going to use it offline. and then have it reviewed by people, have it fixed. So it's not integrated into the app.
Yeah.
So the challenge is we launched with 5 languages. Now these are languages for the entire app. We already have 120 languages on the app, but that's for specific content.
Yeah.
Content like the real story of Jesus. We're still looking at how we can use AI, but then we go from AI to church review, then from church review onto the app instead of making it automated. And because we have episodes, we have a lot of content that's waiting to be uploaded into the app.
Yeah.
But the AI integration is causing a problem for us.
Yeah. So that's the bit we're working on at the minute. So obviously the app's live, there's content in it, but there's all this additional content that has to go into it. So we're working on how do we make it easier for people to upload the content into it. I guess to give people a bit of some context to this, if you take a quiz, so quizzes, whenever you're using it, it's very simple. It reads the question, reads the 4 answers, and gives you the ability to select what's the correct one. For if you look at the likes of Genesis, there's 42 episodes. The quizzes related to Genesis have about 3,000 individual MP3 files associated with it. So it's while it's a pretty easy concept of like, oh, let's just add a new episode. There's actually there's around 3,500 MP3s. There's obviously all the MP4 files, all of these things. So it's how do we collate all this stuff, get it into the format that we need, and actually make it public in the app as efficiently as possible. So that's not a small task, and I think it'll be great because it helps iBible scale if we can get this solved.
So as I realized, when we launched with the 5 languages, and like you said, it's thousands and thousands of files within the app. And we have the app in different formats because we have different, and then people have different bandwidth speeds, so we want to serve that. Because we always try to think internationally.
Yeah.
Could I take this to a village in Africa and use the app?
Yeah.
And so now we have a bottleneck, and we have all this great content. We got 5 more languages in production. We're working on Pilgrim's Progress episodes. We have access to Torchlighters episodes. We got all this great content we want to put on there.
Yeah.
But we really need to make it more efficient to load. And so any AI use will be done outside the app. So people using the app didn't know that we had AI translation in there, of course, unless they saw some bad translation, which happened.
Yeah.
But now that's all coming out, and we're revamping it. So all of that is done offline.
Yeah.
And again, the good news, the exciting part for me is we have hundreds of videos ready to upload, like 300.
Yeah, wow.
We'll be uploading more content. We'll be reviewing all the content we have to make sure it's the best translation as possible.
Yeah,
but
cool.
That was the second. I think those are the 2 big hurdles we have had with the app.
Yeah, it's funny you said about thinking globally. I remember one day you phoned me and you said you were standing at a goat stop in the middle of Africa somewhere.
Yeah, we were driving back from the bush in Kenya.
Yeah, it was around that time then, because we were thinking. And
there was a Sunday too.
Yeah, you get all this content, you make it available, but how do you make it available to someone in rural Africa? So there's some real nice technical challenges, in making that work. AI, like I think we use it for reading the quiz questions and stuff. It works really well. Some really nice AI voices, but definitely the translation component. I know that there's lots of working on in that space, but drafting, it's pretty good at drafting, but definitely still needs a human editor.
Yeah,
to fact check it.
Really, that's what we learned, is that what we thought would be 90% efficient wasn't because of the context.
Yeah,
but we're not going to abandon anything like with AI, because it's always we always want to use technology to advance the kingdom.
Yeah,
I think for people to not be willing to do that, they're missing out. If I can use something in technology to be more efficient, to reach more people, then obviously I want to do that. But I don't want to be handcuffed to it.
Yeah,
I don't want it to be like, and I do know organizations that are like, all this goes through AI, and they just accept that. And I think there's a balance between the 2.
Yeah.
People often ask me, do you use AI translation? Do you use AI voiceovers? Do you use AI for programming? And we say we use it as a tool. And iBible, we actually use it less than people might think, because a lot of people are doing videos, iBible's type videos with AI.
Yeah.
But you lose a lot of control. And that's really what we ran into, is we lost control of the context.
Yeah.
And so there's a balance.
Yeah. The being a developer, I would use AI quite a bit for if you've got like a coding challenge or whatever, you might ask AI how to solve it. And it is a bit of a double-edged sword, because you still need, even where it can actually do 90% of the task, you still need to be informed enough to detect when it's going wrong. And I think for organizations looking to adopt AI or think about it, there's definitely a risk of just throw it all to the AI and it'll do it.
Yeah.
Because it's definitely not perfect. And that's been a really big learning curve of, you still need a level of human expertise in the mix.
Yeah, because if they don't know. So we always want, like our animators, we always want them to know how to accomplish it without AI.
Yeah.
And then see how AI can be a tool to make it faster, to make it more efficient. So I think that leads us to, so we're excited about where the app is going. And the question came, if only one person, one type of person used the app, who would use it? Mm-hmm. And my answer was a Sunday school teacher.
Yeah.
And the reason for that is because obviously I want, youth and families watching the episodes, but they're already watching them on YouTube, on our website. We're doing more. The Real Story of Jesus has been watched 5 million times on our specific progressive web apps. Mm-hmm. And so we're seeing the success of that. So when it comes to an app and it comes to people overseas, and we've interviewed youth overseas that don't even know how to download an app.
Yeah.
And so what happens is they get a phone from and sometimes the local phone companies will give them the phone because they're going to make the money on the minutes that they buy. And that phone comes preloaded with apps, and social media apps are always on there. And they find enough of the apps that are on there, they never have to download another app. Mm-hmm. And I think that's kind of the goal of the phone companies doing this, because they've removed like the ability to scan a QR code.
Right, wow.
And they don't make it easy to download apps. And so they just want you to use the phone as it comes. Mm-hmm. And of course, they're getting paid by YouTube and TikTok and Facebook and to put their apps on the phone.
Yeah, preloaded.
And they don't want it competing with any other apps. Yeah. And so we found when we were talking to like a 14-year-old, this was actually the day before I called you from the goat stand. Right. The goat stand, by the way, was a food stop.
Right.
I mean, that's all they served was goat.
All right. Wow.
Yeah, it was interesting. It was good.
Yeah, nice.
But he had no concept. So this 14, 15-year-old kid had no concept of how to download an app on his phone. Mm-hmm. And he never thought, I ever need to use anything outside of the apps that are on there. Right. Wow. And when we showed him, like we asked him what a QR code was, he had seen them, but we took his phone and we opened the camera app and we scanned the QR code and it didn't scan.
Right. Wow.
So realizing that, how do we reach people who are not going to scan a QR code, who are not necessarily even going to go to a website, they're only going to be on the apps they're on. Yeah. So we do that by putting all of our stuff on social media. Mm-hmm. And so, okay, where does that leave the iBible app? So to me, if I can get the Sunday school teacher to use it with their class, and here's why, because there are actually more resources on our iBible app than there are episodes. Yeah. And people just don't realize it. Mm-hmm. And so we're looking at enhancing the navigation so you realize. So I can tell people there are 42 Sunday school lessons on our app. And people go, really?
Yeah, where are they?
Yeah, where are they? Even people who have it. So we haven't done the best job at making them front and center, because when we first designed the app, and I started this years ago, I thought the average user would be an individual, and it's not. The average user is the church or family or Sunday school teacher.
Yeah, the Sunday school teacher one's really interesting. I know within our church back home, we've used it. That's our primary use for iBible, is when the kids come into the Sunday school class, we will AirPlay it up to a TV screen, watch the episode, and then take them through the quiz. And we've always had really good feedback on that. And I remember I did it really early when the iOS app wasn't fully public, and we had kids, can we download it? Yeah, can we download it? Yeah, can we get it? So I definitely think that sort of church, the Sunday school component makes a lot of sense. But you're right. At the minute, we've got episode resources, and it's kind of very secondary content. So I guess it's how do we surface this and make it more a primary purpose of the app.
Well, and that's when, and of course I've been working on this app for over 5 years, even in early stages of development. I always thought it would be like an app, like YouVersion, that people use individually.
Yeah.
And what I've learned is that for the iBible app, and the way industry is going is that, especially in these poorer countries or rural areas, they're getting a phone with apps and they're not downloading any other apps.
Yeah.
They'll even come with game apps.
Yeah.
So the idea is they never have to download another app. So we have to be forward thinking in that they're not going to be our primary user. And so then we said, because of all the resources, and we had to ask ourselves, if people are not using the resources, should we spend that much time and energy making them and translating them? And it's a big burden and a big vision of mine to have the teaching of the scripture, to teach the narrative. So it's like, no, I want all those 42 lessons. My goal is that we have enough Sunday school lessons on the app that you have enough to take a kid from 13 to 18 and never repeat a lesson.
Nice.
So we're projecting, even with stuff right now, we're projecting 300 to 400 curriculum as we produce. Yeah. So that's 6 years, 7 years, and so I'm almost there, just in what's in the pipeline.
Yeah.
And then when you start telling, and then it's makes sense in America, it makes sense in Ireland, it makes sense in Kenya, it makes sense in Madagascar, that it becomes the Sunday school teacher. And if I had 1 million Sunday school teachers consistently using the app, teaching a weekly lesson, how many kids is she reaching?
Yeah.
If she's teaching 10 kids, that's 10 million people a week. Yeah, it's huge. It ends up being right. So So in review, we've fixed the logon. We took it out.
Yeah. Streamlined it.
We're rethinking how we use AI because of contextual issues.
Yeah.
And now we're looking into making the app really useful to a Sunday school teacher. Now, of course, that translates to a parent. That translates to a pastor, and of course an individual. And my hope is that when a Sunday school teacher starts teaching from iBible, she lets the kids know, you can download this or have an assignment. I want you all to watch it at home.
Yeah, you can take it home.
You can take it home and you can watch it. We don't charge anything. Obviously, we want to be sensitive to the minutes they have to pay, but we try to make the videos as small as possible in these countries that have slow streaming. Yeah, and I think it's taken us a long time, but I think we're finding, where the app really fits in the vision of iBible. Yeah. Of course, thankful for all your input.
Yeah, no, thank you. It's been an amazing project to be a part of. I think like lots of the feedback we've seen, even from people that we've used to it, like locally within our own church context and some friends and things. There's a guy we know, he uses it with his daughter. And he's got through all of the Genesis episodes, and he would say to us regularly, like, what's next? When's there more? All of these things. So it's been amazing to be a part of, and to be able to kind of blend technology with sharing the Bible message, but sharing the gospel message as well. It's been really kind of rewarding to be a part of that journey.
Well, you've been a great team member. I appreciate it, and I hope we continue to work together. Some of the things, and we were talking about this earlier, some of the things, because with you, we have to talk about some of the challenges with the app because you're the programmer. Yeah. But we've also talked about some of the things we love about the app, and I want to hit a few of those. One is, I love the homepage. Yeah. I'm gonna put it back up on the screen for those that are watching. We have the Real Story of Jesus, which is our evangelistic episode, Real Story of Christmas. And, this will probably become the Real Story series. Yeah. Because we have a thought to do the Real Story of Jonah. Obviously, we want to do all these stories that point to Christ. Yeah. And then we have Genesis, which is 42 episodes. Yeah. So I guess we define these like as modules. Yeah. So we'll have a Real Story module, we'll have a Genesis module, we'll have a Life of Christ module coming out this year.
Wow, nice.
The prayer of a man named Jabez was a special feature, so we're going to have special features. Yeah. We're going to be adding Pilgrim's Progress module. We're going to be adding a Torchlighters module. Yeah. And we're talking to other people that are working on animation. And we like animation, and we like episodic, and we like it to include resources. Yeah. So even on Pilgrim's Progress, we're writing resources for the Pilgrim's Progress. Cool. Do quizzes, do resources, and so that's where I think it becomes really valuable. The other thing I like is that when we change a language, so right now the app is published in 5 primary languages, English, Swahili, Spanish, Hindi, and Bulgarian. It will grow this year to 10, and we have other languages we're working on. I think next year it could grow to 20. These are what we call a global language, right? Everything changes to that language.
It updates the whole interface.
Yeah, the menu structure. But if you go to the real story of Jesus, and you can actually change the language of that one episode.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people don't realize that. And that one episode is in 100 and, I'm scrolling through, I'm not counting them, but I think there's 120. There's more to load. There might be 110.
Yeah.
120 languages on there. And so if you're with somebody and their language is, other than English, and you're on the app in English, you can actually just share.
Yeah, you can share it with them.
Yeah, they can let them watch it in their language, and then you can talk about it.
Yeah,
and it just changes that language.
Yeah, I think that was one of the amazing kind of the idea to be able to say, right, my own language is English, but actually, if I'm talking to you and you speak Spanish, we can just override it really quickly and say, here, watch this. We're working a little bit on making that easier to share, so you could flick that into Arabic, for example, and share that link straight out with someone.
So that's what's really important, because we talked about, again, going forward, kids, youth in these countries are not going to be downloading apps, because the apps already come on their phone. So now we can share it on those same social media. And this is for another conversation, but we found in China, where we can't share stuff, the Pilgrim's Progress has gone viral by people sharing it on a couple different platforms, including WeChat and another platform, and they're sharing it. So we're going to work that into iBible as well, and then a Sunday school teacher can share it and put it on the church's platform and put it on different places. So I really love that while we have global languages, we have localized, where you can localize video, where you can change the language of just that video. And as we have, that's going to be an area we're going to grow heavily in. In the future. And then, so the next step is really to get people to see all the resources. We're going to start targeting Sunday school teachers and pastors. I'm going to a big Anglican event here in a couple months and sharing it with Anglican bishops.
Nice.
And then moving to share it with everybody.
Yeah.
So I think it's a little different than we first imagined, but I'm excited where it's going. I think sometimes it just takes a while.
Yeah, I think that's quite common with it's like anything. It's new. You've got to find the audience, and build a whole strategy around it and everything. But it's exciting to see what the future holds for it, and the trajectory that it's on. I think Sunday school, in our church, the pastor back home, he would be really keen on kids are such a teaching them at a young age. It's the next generation, and he would speak quite regularly about that is one of the most important works within a church. So being able to help and support Sunday school teachers is incredible.
Well, and they can't necessarily afford to go online and buy a curriculum, and some of the languages we're working in, we're translating all of our stuff. We're raising money to translate all of our content into Telugu. Telugu doesn't have Sunday school curriculum. They don't have stuff like that. They'll use it in their churches. And when they don't have internet, we give them a solar-powered tablet. And so we're trying to reach everybody where they're at and bring them content. But I'm glad you shared that about, the need for Sunday school material. One story I remember is that it wasn't that long ago. It was in the last year. I was traveling to Africa, and the person next to me on the plane, we got to chatting and talking, and she actually was from the same area. We knew some of the same people. And she said I told her about iBible, and she said she was a Sunday school teacher. And I said, oh, that's great. I did that when I was young, and and then she said, but when I get home from this trip, I'm going to resign.
Right.
And I said, why? And she said, there's just no content. It's just so hard. And I know when I taught a Sunday school class, if you're not well prepared, there's something worse than all those eyes of 7-year and 8-year-olds or 5-year-olds staring at you, waiting for you to say something.
And the questions that they ask.
Interesting. So being unprepared was a huge thing. And you're going to teach a 20-minute, 30-minute Sunday school class. You could spend 3, 4, 5 hours preparing. And if you don't have time that week, and I can remember doing stuff at the last minute, trying to make it exciting. but the ones I prepared for were much better.
Yeah.
Well, I asked her, I said, what if you could just go to an app? This is before the iBible app was launched. I says, what if you could just go to an app and have a lesson right there?
Yeah, and it was all there.
And you could show a video, you could, mirror it to the TV or put it on an iPad or whatever, and then you could go through the lesson with the students. Even the quiz. Even the quiz can be fun to do.
Yeah.
So watch an episode, take the quiz. It can be 15 minutes of a Sunday school class. That's before you even talk about the episode.
Yeah.
That's before you even do practical application. She said, I would never quit if I had that.
Right. Wow. Yeah.
And I wonder, I know I felt like that. I wonder how many Sunday school teachers just feel they need more good curriculum. And whenever we ask people, they say it needs to be video based. Can't just be all text based. And
I think what you said about taking a kid from what was it, 13 to 18, something like that kind of age range. Like I've seen lots of these curriculums, they run out after a year. So you get something that works for a year, but then you're back to,
what do you do?
And lots of them, the stories are repeated. It's kind of, it's basically the same thing in a slightly different package, where if you've got something that's designed actually for a child throughout those sort of teen years, and they're working through it, I think that's amazing. The quiz one's really funny because I remember doing it for the first time with the kids, and we showed them the video, and the engagement they had with the quiz, it actually caught me off guard because they were so enthusiastic about doing it, and you think it's such a simple kind of mechanic of throwing it up on a screen and just sort of working through it, but it's whenever you've got about 70% of the way through the quiz and you get one wrong. And it's we broke our streak, and then it's they want to go back and see can they get the 100% score. It's kind of one of the nice wee things where you kind of keep going until you get it right. So then you're trying to see, well, can you get 100%? You get 80%.
Never.
All that kind
so
of
to
stuff.
Get 100%, you just can't hit a wrong answer.
Yeah.
So because you have to get the right answer before you progress. I encourage people, if you haven't used the quiz, try it, because we've had great feedback from the quizzes. We had pastors in India having a competition to see who could get the highest score.
Right. Yes.
And interesting, the highest score was 90.
Really? Right.
For a first time through. And I don't think we have ever seen 100.
Right. Wow.
Of people getting 100% on the quiz the first time.
Yeah,
and they're basic questions. They're not over simple, what was Eve's name?
Yeah.
At least they have some, they require some thought. How long was Noah on the ark? What did God create on the fourth day of creation? They're things we should know. They're basic narrative questions.
Yeah.
But I've yet to find anybody who got 100%.
Yeah, it's funny. We've done it with our friends. You get something like that, what did God create on the fourth day of creation? Everybody gets dead, antsy in their seat. And if you hit the wrong one, you get that. It's not quite a buzzer. When we first built it, I put like a hockey buzzer. And my wife was like, you can't have a thing like,
People
so
are not gonna like it.
It's a bit more subtle than that.
Yeah, we don't say you failed. Go back and read your Bible.
Yeah.
We do, and then we celebrate. You get confetti.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, that's one of the nice features of it. But the quizzes and the Sunday schools and stuff. I think it's amazing to see the impact that it can have.
Yeah, and I think the problem we have is that Sunday school teachers just don't know we have this.
Yeah.
And so I don't think it's something that they won't use. I just think it's something that they don't know. And really, before I share it with them, I want to work with you on the navigation to make it easier, so it's easier to find. And excitingly, our listeners know we're also launching these solar-powered iPads. We're making replicas of the app to work on the iPad. So if you don't have internet, you don't even need electricity.
Yeah.
So you can take the iPad, a tablet. It'll go for about 8 hours on a charge, just with the sun. Yeah. And you can show, and we're building more and more of that content. We just sent a tablet to Burma yesterday, and we had some Burmese content. And we're going to look to curate other content as well. But as we build ours, if every Sunday school teacher, virtually around the world can be enabled with a free resource to teach the scripture and make it fun.
Yeah. Yeah, it's incredible.
It's a big vision.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's scary, big, but appreciate your help.
Yeah, no, not at all. It's been an amazing journey, and I'm sure iBible will continue to do amazing things, and it's the parts we've got to play in it, we're happy to be involved.
Yeah, well, we look forward to it. Obviously, we're looking forward to enhancing it, making it better.
Oh, yeah.
If you're using the app, please give us feedback. Some of the things we've already shared with you are going to change in the near future. And if you're not using the app, you can go to the Apple Store or the Android Store, look for iBible by Revelation Media. You'll find our app, no login. We say download, but you're barely downloading anything because it all points to a website. So you do need internet connection to use it, and that's one thing that is unique to a progressive web app. But definitely something that we're excited about. We see progressing nicely in the future, and so join the others that are already using the app. Go to the quizzes, go to the resources, do it as a family, do it as a church. It's a free resource to you. Thank you for joining for another episode of iBible, and God bless.
The iBible Podcast with Steve Cleary, brought to you by Revelation Media. This episode was produced by Joshua Burton and Aaliyah Gonzalez, with original theme music by Xperia. Subscribe to stay up to date on new episodes and iBible content, and visit the show notes for more information and resources from today's show.